Ethan Cole had never imagined that a single mission would lead him from the familiar sky above Earth to a cell orbiting a distant star. One moment, he was navigating the trade route near the fringe of human-controlled space, the hum of his small freighter's engine steady under his fingers. The next, a blinding flash of alien energy ripped through the void, and his ship shook violently. He fought to stabilize the controls, but it was useless. An alien vessel, sleek and shimmering with a light that seemed almost alive, caught him in a tractor beam. Resistance was pointless. His ship's systems overloaded, and with a final jolt, the freighter drifted powerless as the aliens approached. The boarding team moved silently, their limbs long and precise, each motion executed with exact coordination. Ethan raised his hands in surrender, but he felt a tension deep in his chest. There was no immediate threat of death, but the quiet authority in their presence was more terrifying than any weapon. They scanned him quickly, their devices reading his biosigns and stress levels, before releasing a pulse that paralyzed his movements. Then they lifted him effortlessly, as though his body weighed nothing, and carried him aboard the massive craft that hovered like a predator in the blackness of space. The interior was unlike anything Ethan had seen. Walls shimmered with shifting colors, textures that seemed organic yet hard as metal. Strange patterns moved across the surface like a living map. The floor was smooth, but the panels pulsed faintly with energy. Lights not uniform glowed in irregular intervals, and the entire ship emitted a low hum that vibrated through his chest. It was beautiful, alien, and deeply unsettling. He was taken to a holding area, a cell of transparent material that felt alive. It reacted to his presence, shifting faintly when he moved. He was alone. The silence was thick, broken only by the soft hum of the station's systems. Ethan had been trained for captivity, but nothing could prepare him for this. He paced the small space, studying the walls, the light, the faint patterns that seemed almost to communicate with him. Every instinct screamed caution. Every instinct told him this was not just imprisonment, it was observation. The station was under the control of Lyra Veylan, an alien commander of a species humans had only recently begun to encounter. Reports had described her kind as rational, calculating, and exceptionally disciplined. Lyra herself had never witnessed humans firsthand, only through transmissions and analysis. They were considered emotional, unpredictable, and dangerous, creatures whose impulsiveness could either lead to innovation or disaster. Through the translucent walls of the cell, she observed Ethan. His calm, controlled movements were unexpected. He did not panic. He did not curse. He examined everything meticulously, his eyes flicking from panel to panel, taking mental notes. Lyra found herself intrigued. Her people valued order, precision, and compliance. Here was a human displaying none of the expected weakness, none of the fear or despair predicted by their models. Days passed. Ethan established a routine. Exercises to maintain strength, careful observation of the cell, attempts to communicate with the automated systems that occasionally flickered in the room. He spoke softly to himself, practicing language patterns and reviewing what he knew of alien technology from intercepted transmissions. Though he was alone, he refused to let isolation weaken him. One night, a storm of cosmic particles swept past the station, sending ripples through the energy grid. Systems designed to maintain the station's structure began to fail. Panels that controlled life support, communications, and navigation flickered and dimmed. Alarms, barely audible, pulsed faintly. Most of the alien staff panicked, unsure how to manually override systems they had never trained to control without automation. Ethan listened. He could hear the quiet chaos through the subtle vibrations of the floor. He recalled similar situations on human ships, where instinct and pattern recognition often mattered more than any manual or protocol. His voice, hesitant but firm, cut through the silence, offering guidance in the basic interstellar trade language the aliens used for coordination. Redirect Node 12 through secondary conduits. Use primary bypass only if stabilization fails, he called. Power surge will overload the main relay if not rerouted. Balance the flow to maintain pressure. Lyra heard him. She had seen many humans in captivity, but none who had ever provided solutions under pressure. Curious, she ordered the cell unlocked and a guard stationed nearby while she observed. Ethan moved swiftly, his hands precise, working with the panels that the aliens could not control without extensive training. He directed technicians, identified failing components, and stabilized the reactor node just before the overload could reach critical levels. The alien crew watched in stunned silence. Protocol dictated that prisoners were to remain confined, observed, and silenced. Yet here was a human, offering not defiance but assistance, saving the station from catastrophic failure. Lyra felt a surge of unexpected respect. She had read reports, studied simulations, and calculated probabilities, but none could predict the capacity of humans to respond instinctively to danger. Ethan's solution worked. Systems hummed steadily, lights returned to normal, and the alarms ceased. The crew, once tense, relaxed cautiously, casting curious glances at the human who had intervened. Lyra stepped forward, her long limbs gliding with the same confidence she expected from her crew. She approached Ethan and studied him carefully. For the first time, she considered a possibility her species rarely entertained. Perhaps humans were more than their reports suggested. Perhaps they were capable of something unexpected. Against protocol, she made a decision. She transferred him from the isolation cell to supervised custody aboard a secure section of the station. Officially, he remained a prisoner. Unofficially, he would assist in tasks that required adaptability, creativity, and human intuition. Qualities Lyra's species found unreliable but occasionally fascinating. The station began to prepare for an exploration mission, one that would take a small team into a nearby region of space known as the Silent Veil. Previous expeditions had failed or returned incomplete data. Lyra, curious and increasingly confident in Ethan's capabilities, selected him as a participant. The rest of the crew objected. Humans were unpredictable. The risk was high, but Lyra overruled them. She had observed the human's capacity for calm, analysis, and quick thinking in the face of potential disaster. Ethan, now dressed in the standard expedition uniform, moved among the crew cautiously. He felt the eyes of every alien on him, measuring, judging, skeptical. He did not flinch. Instead, he learned quickly the ship systems, the mapping technology, and the propulsion units. He asked questions in simple, precise language, gaining respect through knowledge and humility rather than force. Over the next few days, he became an unlikely bridge between species. Lyra noticed subtle changes in crew behavior. Where fear and suspicion had dominated, curiosity began to take root. Some crew members still doubted him, whispering about the unpredictability of humans. But in moments of crisis, minor malfunctions, unexpected energy spikes, navigational anomalies, Ethan demonstrated a capacity to act decisively, improvising solutions that no alien protocol could provide. Lyra observed these moments closely. She noted the difference between human intuition and alien calculation. Humans, she realized, were not bound by rigid models. They could adapt. They could respond emotionally, yes, but this did not weaken them. It enhanced their survival. She found herself respecting this unpredictable quality. Where her species prized order and control, humans embraced chaos and opportunity. One evening, as the station orbited a quiet, distant planet, Ethan stood at the observation port. The stars stretched endlessly beyond, a tapestry of possibilities. He thought of Earth, of the life he had left behind, of the uncertain future that now lay before him. Despite his status as a prisoner, he felt a strange sense of purpose. He had survived. He had contributed. And he had earned, if only in small measure, the tentative trust of beings far older and wiser than himself. Lyra approached him, her presence quiet but commanding. She did not speak immediately, letting him sense her study and consideration. Finally, she said, "You are not like the reports described. You adapt. You endure. That is remarkable." Ethan looked at her, sensing that this was more than observation. There was acknowledgement in her words, a recognition that his humanity, the very traits that had brought him to this cell, were also what might carry him beyond it. The mission would begin in hours. The crew, still wary, would follow protocols and routines. But with Ethan's inclusion, the expedition carried a new variable, a human mind, capable of improvisation and creativity where others relied solely on calculation. As the station prepared to launch the small exploration vessel toward the Silent Veil, Ethan felt a quiet thrill. He had entered as a prisoner. He would leave, perhaps, as something more. He did not yet know the nature of that transformation, only that his choices, his instincts, and his willingness to endure had altered his fate. Lyra watched him from across the room. Where once she had seen only a human to be contained, she now saw a partner, a symbol of what her species might learn from those they underestimated. In the vast, unforgiving expanse of space, adaptability and courage mattered. And Ethan Cole, a human, had already proven he possessed both in abundance. The first step of the journey, small and tentative, was about to begin, but already a change had taken place. A prisoner had refused to break. A human had shown resilience, intelligence, and determination, and the galaxy, vast and indifferent, was about to take notice. The Horizon Arc glided away from the safety of the orbital station, its hull catching the faint glimmer of a distant star. Ethan Cole stood at the observation port, hands pressed against the smooth glass, watching the black expanse of space unfold before him. Beyond the familiar stars of human space lay a region known as the Silent Veil, a sector so unpredictable that even advanced alien sensors struggled to map it. Ships had ventured there before, yet many never returned. Those that did brought back incomplete data, strange readings, and unsettling stories of anomalies that defied logic. Lyra Valen, the alien commander, moved silently behind him, her long limbs folding naturally as she observed the crew. The ship hummed with life, energy flowing through its living circuits. The alien crew worked efficiently, their movements precise and coordinated, but there was tension in the air. Each crew member carried the unease of venturing into the unknown. Ethan could feel it, even if he did not share it in the same way. The first few hours were quiet. Sensors scanned the outer boundaries of the veil, recording fluctuations in gravity, radiation, and electromagnetic waves. Ethan studied the readouts carefully, comparing them to simulations he had learned from Earth databases. The aliens relied on models and pre-programmed predictions. Humans, Ethan thought, often relied on instinct. He knew that sometimes instinct could surpass calculation. When the first gravitational wave hit, the Horizon Arc shuddered. Panels flickered, energy lines overloaded, and the ship's autopilot attempted to compensate. The alien crew called out commands, adjusting systems frantically. Ethan stepped forward, his voice calm but firm. "Manual override," he said, pointing at the navigation console. "The autopilot can't adapt to these fluctuations fast enough. We need to feel the shifts, respond in real time." Lyra's eyes narrowed. Manual control was risky. Her species trusted rigid logic and calculation, not improvisation. But she saw the confidence in Ethan's eyes. Something in her mind clicked. Perhaps humans did understand unpredictability in ways they did not. "Partial control," she allowed, under supervision. Ethan nodded and moved to the console, adjusting thrusters and course corrections with careful precision. The ship swayed and rocked as he countered the gravitational distortions. Sweat beaded on his brow, but his hands moved swiftly, instinctively, balancing the ship's position between the unseen forces of the Silent Veil. The alien crew watched silently, astonished by his skill. Hours passed. Ethan guided the Horizon Arc through turbulent fields of energy that seemed alive, swirling and twisting around them. He realized that the veil was not just a void, but a region shaped by ancient, unseen forces. It was a challenge unlike any he had faced before. Each adjustment, each calculation, each instinctive maneuver mattered. Suddenly, a shadow passed over the hull. Sensors screamed warnings, detecting a massive object drifting silently in the dark. Ethan leaned closer to the readouts. It was a structure unlike any natural formation he had seen. Straight edges, symmetrical shapes, geometric patterns that repeated in ways impossible in nature. It was enormous, larger than any station, yet drifting alone, as if waiting. Lyra's voice cut through the tension. "Unknown object detected. Prepare scanners. Do not approach without analysis." Ethan's mind raced. The structure radiated low-energy pulses, almost like a heartbeat. His instincts told him that caution was necessary, but curiosity flared. "We need to get closer," he said. "Our sensors won't read properly from here. If we stay too far, we'll miss critical details. The pulses indicate activity. We can't ignore them." The crew hesitated. Some whispered fears of ancient defense mechanisms, of structures built by extinct species designed to destroy intruders. Lyra studied Ethan carefully. His confidence was not reckless. There was logic in his improvisation. She gave a slow nod. Approach with caution, she ordered. Maintain shields at maximum, no sudden moves. Ethan guided the Horizon Arc forward, inching closer to the massive structure. Its surface shimmered, a complex interplay of light and shadow, patterns shifting as if responding to their presence. The alien crew observed in awe and fear. As they drew closer, the structure pulsed. A beam of energy struck the ship, triggering alarms. Shields flared, absorbing the impact. Crew members scrambled, unsure if it was an attack or a signal. Ethan stepped forward again, voice steady. It's reacting to our approach, not necessarily hostile, broadcast a neutral pulse. Mathematics, repetition, patterns humans use in first contact protocols. It won't trigger aggression. Lyra hesitated but saw the logic. She authorized the pulse. The ship emitted a simple pattern, rhythmic, repeating numbers, carefully calculated to convey non-hostility. The structure responded immediately. Its energy pulse softened. A section of the outer wall retracted, revealing an opening, a pathway into the interior. The alien crew stared in disbelief. No algorithms, no preset protocols could have achieved this. Only a human mind, guided by intuition and understanding of unpredictability, had succeeded. Ethan felt a surge of relief but also excitement. He glanced at Lyra. She looked at him differently now, her eyes no longer calculating a prisoner but evaluating a partner. A silent acknowledgement passed between them. Trust had begun to form. The Horizon Arc entered the megastructure cautiously. Inside, corridors stretched into darkness, lit by faint, glowing patterns on the walls. The air, recycled and controlled, smelled faintly metallic, yet there was an almost imperceptible rhythm, a pulse that echoed through the hull. The crew moved carefully, scanning every surface. Ethan noticed symbols etched into the walls, geometric patterns repeating in ways that seemed to convey information. He touched the panels gently, tracing the designs. "This is an archive," he said softly. "A record of a civilization. They left this intentionally." "Not a trap, not abandoned. They wanted it to be found." Lyra frowned. "How can you be certain? We know nothing about this species." "Because of the patterns," Ethan replied. "They're too precise to be random, and yet there's flexibility built into the design. Whoever made this wanted a conscious mind to interpret it, someone capable of understanding context and intent." The crew moved deeper into the structure. As they approached the core, sensors detected energy fluctuations far beyond their previous measurements. The walls shifted slightly, responding to their presence. Ethan noted that the energy pulses were synchronized with the crew's movement, almost as if the structure was alive, or at least semi-conscious. Suddenly, a defensive pulse erupted from the walls, striking the Horizon Arc. Shields flared, alarms screamed, crew members ducked, panic rising. Lyra barked orders, but her voice was tight with fear. Automated systems failed to adapt. The ship trembled as energy cascaded through the hull. Ethan acted quickly. "Calm the crew, don't panic. Let me guide the response." He took control of the auxiliary systems, adjusting power distribution, rerouting energy through secondary conduits, stabilizing shields. But the pulse kept coming rhythmically, almost intelligently. "The structure is testing us," he realized aloud. "It reacts to fear and aggression. If we panic, it interprets that as threat. We need to respond calmly, predictably, mathematically." Lyra hesitated but saw the truth in his eyes. "Do it." Ethan guided the ship through careful maneuvers, broadcasting non-aggressive signals continuously. Slowly, the pulses softened. The structure ceased its attacks. The corridor ahead opened wider, revealing a central chamber. Within, massive holographic projections illuminated the space. Star maps, diagrams of energy flows, symbols representing culture and knowledge floated in midair. The crew gasped. This is incredible," one technician whispered. "We've discovered history older than any civilization we know." Lyra stepped forward, studying the displays. She turned to Ethan. "You were right. Your instincts, your interpretation, you understood what my people could not. You see beyond protocol." Ethan shook his head slightly. "I don't know if it's right yet, but we've proven something important. That understanding, not just calculation, can unlock doors no one expected. We have to explore carefully. There's more here than any of us realize." They moved deeper, documenting each discovery. Strange artifacts floated in suspended energy fields. Walls were covered in information, some of which reacted to touch and proximity. Ethan traced lines with his fingers, noting the subtle changes in energy and pattern. He could feel that the structure was alive in some way, aware, guiding them forward. Hours passed. The crew became accustomed to Ethan's presence as a mediator between them and the alien environment. His calm, deliberate approach allowed them to proceed without triggering further defensive responses. Lyra watched closely, noticing the change in her crew. Where fear and hesitation had dominated, confidence and curiosity now took root. Ethan felt the thrill of discovery, tempered by caution. He knew that this structure could hold dangers far beyond comprehension, but he also understood its value. Knowledge, after all, was the key to survival. And humanity had a unique strength, the ability to approach the unknown with courage and adaptability. As the Horizon arc settled in a safe section of the central chamber, Ethan paused at a projection of an intricate star map. The lines and coordinates were unlike anything the aliens had encountered. Lyra studied the map beside him. This could guide exploration for centuries," she said softly, "and you understood its significance immediately." Ethan looked at her, a small smile forming. "It's all about pattern recognition, context, and willingness to risk being wrong. Sometimes the unknown isn't something to fear, it's something to understand." Lyra nodded. For the first time, she considered the possibility that humans were more than unpredictable animals. They were adaptable, creative, and courageous in ways her species often underestimated. She realized that this human, a prisoner only days before, had changed the trajectory of the mission, and perhaps even her perception of humanity. The silent veil had revealed its first secrets, but both Ethan and Lyra knew this was only the beginning. Deeper corridors awaited, more mysteries lurked, and the structure's intelligence seemed to guide them toward a purpose they could not yet comprehend. Ethan took a deep breath, looking at the vast chamber, the floating symbols, and the glowing projections. He felt alive in a way he never had before. A prisoner yesterday, a guide today, an explorer tomorrow. The journey into the unseen region had just begun, and he was ready. The central chamber of the ancient structure pulsed faintly, casting long shadows that danced across the walls. Ethan Cole stood at the edge of a raised platform, staring at the enormous holographic archive that floated above the floor. Star maps, energy readings, and complex diagrams shimmered and shifted, alive with intelligence that felt almost conscious. He could feel it humming in the air, vibrating through the floor, reaching toward him as if the structure had been waiting for someone like him. Lyra Valen approached, her movements cautious yet purposeful. The alien commander had observed Ethan's intuition and calm reasoning through the silent veil, and she now regarded him not as a prisoner, but as a partner and guide. She studied the holographic projections, noting subtle responses to Ethan's proximity. The structure seemed to recognize him in a way it had not recognized the aliens. It reacts to you," Lyra said quietly, her voice a mixture of awe and uncertainty. "Your presence, it triggers the interface." Ethan nodded, feeling the energy pulse more strongly. "It's expecting someone capable of interpreting it," he replied. "It responds to understanding and intent, not calculation alone. Whoever built this wanted a conscious mind to unlock their work. My instincts, they are the key." The alien crew clustered behind them, eyes wide as they observed Ethan step closer to the center of the archive. The holographic displays shifted, forming a corridor of light that seemed to reach out like a pathway. Ethan could feel the challenge. Accessing the archive fully would require him to interface directly with its systems. There was risk, perhaps even danger, but hesitation was not an option. Knowledge like this could change the future. He turned to Lyra. "I'll do it. But I need your crew to stabilize the ship and the chamber while I connect. The energy flow could be overwhelming." Lyra's eyes softened, not as a commander, but as someone who had begun to care about him. "Are you certain? We don't know how it will affect you." "The energy, it could harm you." Ethan smiled faintly, a mixture of confidence and determination. "I am certain. If we want to understand the galaxy, if we want to survive what's coming, this is the only way." The alien technicians adjusted the ship systems, channeling auxiliary power to the chamber, dampening fluctuations that could destabilize the interface. Ethan stepped onto the platform, positioning himself in the center of the holographic corridor. The energy pulsed more strongly, almost as if the structure were alive, testing him, preparing him. He extended his hands toward the floating symbols, letting the patterns flow through him. The moment he made contact, a surge of energy shot through the chamber. The holograms expanded, wrapping around him, and for a moment Ethan felt weightless, suspended in a sea of light. Images, knowledge, star maps, and historical records poured into his mind. He saw the rise and fall of civilizations, the spread of cosmic instability, and warnings encoded in patterns that defied conventional logic. The structure had preserved the knowledge of an extinct species, a civilization far older than any the aliens knew. They had failed not because of weakness, but because they relied solely on calculation and order. When the unexpected crisis came, a chain reaction of cosmic anomalies, they could not adapt. They perished, leaving only this archive. Ethan's mind absorbed the information, translating it intuitively. He understood the warnings, the star maps, the patterns of instability spreading slowly across the galaxy. The energy surged again, pushing him to the limits of endurance, but he focused, letting the information flow through him, filtering the critical details from noise. Lyra and the crew watched in tense silence. The chamber's energy pulses intensified, threatening to overwhelm the ship's stabilizers. Yet Ethan remained calm, eyes closed, hands extended, as if guiding the information into understanding. Every breath, every thought was measured, deliberate, and unyielding. Finally, with a deep exhale, the energy began to subside. The holographic projections slowed, folding into organized patterns that the crew could now interpret. Ethan opened his eyes, sweat beading on his brow, but a sense of accomplishment radiating from him. He had unlocked the archive. Lyra approached cautiously. "You survived it," she said, awe in her voice. "You understood what no algorithm or crew could. You are remarkable." Ethan shook his head slightly, still absorbing the information. "I didn't do it alone." The structure responded to calm and clarity, not panic. That's something humans can offer in a way your species often underestimates. Adaptability, courage, intuition, these are strengths, not weaknesses. The alien crew slowly gathered around, examining the stabilized archive. Data began to flow to their consoles, star maps aligning, energy readings updating, historical records becoming accessible. The implications were immense. The archive contained solutions for stabilizing the cosmic anomalies threatening multiple star systems. This knowledge, previously locked away, was now within reach because a human had understood the unknown. Lyra studied Ethan, her gaze thoughtful. "I underestimated humans," she admitted. "Your species, your adaptability, your willingness to take risks, it is a strength. Something my people rarely recognize in other species." Ethan smiled faintly. "We have to survive by adapting. That's all we know how to do." As the crew began cataloging the information, Ethan realized the full scope of the archive. The extinct civilization had left warnings and guidance, but it required conscious interpretation. Machines alone could not unlock the knowledge fully. Only beings capable of reasoning, intuition, and emotional insight could complete the process. Humans, with their unpredictable ingenuity, were uniquely suited for this task. Hours passed as the team worked together, documenting star maps, analyzing energy patterns, and cataloging the historical data. Ethan guided them, explaining patterns, suggesting interpretations, and helping the alien crew understand the principles behind the ancient knowledge. His calm, methodical approach allowed the team to work efficiently, unlocking secrets that would have remained hidden to any other species. By the time the Horizon Ark prepared to leave the Silent Veil, the crew had a comprehensive understanding of the megastructure and its contents. The previously unknown region now held maps, warnings, and solutions that could stabilize the expanding cosmic instability threatening distant sectors of space. Humanity's intuition and adaptability had bridged the gap between alien technology and extinct knowledge. Lyra turned to Ethan as they prepared to depart. "The Council will expect you to return to Earth as a prisoner, but you have proven your value. You are no longer merely a detainee." Ethan looked at her, a mix of pride and humility in his expression. "I am a human. I adapt. I survive, that is all." Lyra nodded, a small smile forming. "Then you will be recognized as the mission's primary contributor. Your status will reflect what you have accomplished here." The alien crew, once skeptical and cautious, now regarded Ethan with respect. Where there had been fear and suspicion, there was now admiration. They had witnessed firsthand the strength, courage, and ingenuity of a human mind. As the Horizon Ark exited the Silent Veil, Ethan stood at the observation port, looking at the vastness of space. Stars stretched infinitely before him, and for the first time he felt a sense of belonging beyond the confines of a prison cell. He had entered this journey as a captive, but he would leave as an explorer, a symbol of humanity's potential and a bridge between species. Lyra approached him again, her voice quieter than before. "You have changed the mission. You have changed my perception of humans. You have changed the future." Ethan turned to her, a thoughtful expression on his face. "The future is always uncertain. But humans, we thrive when faced with the unknown. That's what makes us survive." The Horizon arc continued its journey through mapped space, carrying knowledge that would transform interstellar understanding. Ethan had proven that humanity's greatest strength lay not in technology alone, but in courage, adaptability, and the ability to face the unknown without fear. He had endured, adapted, and succeeded where others might have failed. When they reached the Interstellar Council, Lyra presented him not as a prisoner, but as a recognized contributor and envoy of exploration. The council members, initially skeptical, listened as Ethan detailed the discoveries, the archive, and the strategies for stabilizing the cosmic anomalies. His calm, measured explanations, combined with his first-hand experience navigating the Silent Veil, impressed even the most rigid members. For the first time, a human was formally acknowledged as an equal partner in interstellar exploration. Ethan's journey had begun in captivity, but it culminated in recognition, respect, and purpose. As the council deliberated, Lyra offered him a choice: return to Earth or remain as an explorer and envoy, continuing to unlock the secrets of the galaxy. Ethan looked out at the stars, feeling the weight of the journey behind him and the promise of adventures ahead. He made his decision with quiet certainty. "I will continue," he said. "There is more to see, more to understand, and more to protect." "Humanity, my species, has a role to play." Lyra nodded approvingly. "Then you will continue as an explorer. The galaxy awaits your contributions, Ethan Cole, no longer a prisoner but a symbol of what humanity can achieve." The Horizon arc departed for the next uncharted sector, carrying a human who had transformed from a captive to an interstellar pioneer. The galaxy, vast and indifferent, had opened its doors to him. Where once there was confinement and uncertainty, now there was possibility, discovery, and the recognition that humanity's greatest strength lay in courage, adaptability, and the willingness to face the unknown. As Ethan gazed into the expanse of space, he understood the truth. A human could endure imprisonment, navigate the unknown, and emerge not just alive but triumphant. And somewhere beyond the stars, new adventures waited, unseen, unpredictable, and entirely his to discover. The journey had begun with captivity, but it ended with freedom, respect, and the promise of infinite exploration. Humanity had proven itself once again, not through force or technology alone, but through spirit, determination, and the courage to face what no one else could. And in that vast, endless universe, a human had taken the first steps, not as a prisoner, but as an explorer ready to leave a mark that would endure for generations to come.